In this tutorial, we're going to look at setting up house bank accounts. So it's always a good idea to go to our SAP help portal and take a look at the documentation that's there when we're trying something new in Business One. And in our SAP help portal, we go to Administration, Setup, Banking, and we can look at bank setups and house bank setup. And we can see down here there's a little bit more about setting up banks and setting up house banks. So remember, I just said administration, setup, banking, bank setup, and house bank setup. And we can see here in Business One, administration, setup, banking, and we have banks and house bank account as well. Back here in Business One, then, the first thing that we need to do is to set up our banks, which we find here. And here we can choose our country code. We can put in a code that we like for the bank. So BOI for Bank of Ireland is a good one. So Bank of Ireland. We might update that and put in another one for AIB. And that's all we really need in terms of banks in the bank setup. We don't necessarily have to put in SWIFT codes or account codes and so on over here. Down here then in our house bank setup, we will then be able to select one of these banks that we've created here. So if I choose this and pick Bank of Ireland and choose, then at this point I can put in the sort code, the bank account number, and your name. So it might be your primary BOI account. We can put in our SWIFT code, our GL account. So what GL account do we want to match to this particular bank account? So in here under Financials and Chart of Accounts, in the asset drawer, if you scroll down towards the end, typically we have our 161 GL codes, which are our bank GL codes. And in here, we would usually have a 161010, which is typically your primary bank account. And then we have associated with that any checks payments, domestic payments, foreign payments, bank clearing, other postings, and checks received. All of those are associated with bank account number 1. So if you've got a Bank of Ireland account and it's your primary account, you might assign it to this GL. If you have 5 bank accounts as your own personal bank accounts, then you would use the next batch. So maybe these are your Euro banks and the next batch are your GBP banks. So you could put in 161020 is the GL. This one here, GBP bank account number 2, you'd put that in there as your GL against the account back here on the other screen. So back here we can see that straight out of the box, Business One has come with a fake Barclays and HSBC account, and they've been set to those 2 bank GLs. So I'm going to take that one out of there and I'm going to put it in here against this one. And I'm going to take that one out of there as well, and I'll just add a new row here for AIB. We put in the GL here, but also what we were going to need for each of those is our IBAN, and I think that should be enough. To make these headings appear nicer for us, what we can do is go up here to Form Settings, which is this guy here. When you hover over it, we can see it. Click on that. And down here, we can rearrange how these appear. I think I'd like to pull the IBAN up beside there. So just click on it and hold it for a moment and drop it down there. The GL account as well, I'd like to pull that up. And that should be okay. And you can go down and you can hide the different columns that you don't want to see if you want to, but that's fine for me. So now I've got branch account number, bank account name, which is the name we're giving it, the BIC code, the very long IBAN, and the GL account. So that's it on setting up the house bank accounts. So the next thing we need to do is to set up our house bank account in our company details. So in here we go into Administration, System Initialization, and Company Details, and we find them here under the Basic Initialization tab, and down here we have our house bank area again. So in here we would pick our region, you pick the default bank, you pick the default bank number, and the default branch gets populated. And over here in our business partners, we go to the business partner main menu module, business partner master data and open up any of our business partner master data records. I'm leaving this in find mode. We know that because we've all of our yellow fields here. However, we will want to be in add mode in order to add this house bank to the business partner. So what we're saying here is that when I'm paying a particular supplier, for example, this is the house bank that I want to pay it from. So I would go in here against that particular supplier after we've selected it, and I would choose again the Bank of Ireland, the account, and if we had it fully filled in, the branch, the IBAN, and the BIC or the SWIFT code would also populate here. And there's one other area actually where we can use our house bank account, and that's here under the payment methods setup. So we get to that in administration, setup, banking, and payment methods, this one here. And we can have different payment methods set up. This one is an example of an outgoing bank transfer. So in this example, if we're doing an outgoing bank transfer and if it's been chosen as the payment method, we can optionally enter the house bank in here. So we can say it's Ireland, Bank of Ireland, the account, and so on, and the rest of it would auto-populate here as well. So there's one last thing I suppose to understand about setting up banks in Business One. When you're setting up your customer bank accounts, the bank needs to be set up here. So if your customer is working with Ulster Bank, you'd put in, if it's an Irish bank, you'd put in Ireland, you'd put in a code for Ulster Bank, then you would type in Ulster Bank here. And then back in our business partner master data setup area, when we're creating a new business partner or when we're working with one that already exists, we can choose a customer. And in the payment terms tab here, we can define what our business partner bank details are. And this would be used for using the bank payment wizard. So in here we have the bank country region. You'd select that here from your bank codes. So they might be also with AIB, for example. Update, and you can put in their account number, the bank name, and the branch and the IBAN in here. And that's doing the same as we did for our house bank accounts, except for this time we're setting up our business partner banks in here. So just to refresh, that's under business partners, business partner master data. And in here then on the payment terms tab, this is where we put our business partner banks. So during this session, we had a look at where to find support on the SAP Business One portal, the help portal. We looked at setting up banks, and we said that the banks, you think of those as being the institutions. If we want to refer to AIB against our business partners or against our own house banks, then we need to have AIB set up in the banks. Same with the business partners. If we're looking for Bank of Ireland for one of our business partners, or HSBC or some other non-Irish bank, we have to have them set up here in our bank setup. Once we have that step done, and only when we've that step done, we can set up the house bank account, and the house bank account is our own bank accounts. The other thing that we looked at was the setting up of the payment method, and for the payment method we said that that's typically done when we are creating our bank files and setting ourselves up for doing a bank payment wizard run, so kind of auto-generating payments. And then the last thing we looked at there was setting up the bank account in the business partner bank account area as well. Hope you found this tutorial useful. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to it.